All right, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Living the Dream podcast. Today on the show, we have Mariana Sciucco, who is an author.
It's Marianne.
Marianne, sorry, I had a typo in my podcast show notes. Marianne Sciucco, who is an author,
Mhm.
podcast host, and registered nurse. Marianne, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I am doing well. Thanks so much for asking. And we'd like to jump right in. So if you could start with telling us a little bit more about yourself and what you like to do for fun, that'd be great.
Fun. Well, summer is my favorite month. So we're right in the thick of it. And that's when I like to have a lot of fun. Yesterday, I went for a hike out in the woods with my husband,
Okay.
and I like to do that. It was really in very woodsy area with a little views of a lake. I'm a water person, so I love lakes, but especially the ocean. And I love to travel. And when I'm not doing that, I'm got my nose in a book, and my lifelong passion for reading led me to become a writer.
There we go. And so lifelong passion for reading, like ever since you were a
Mm.
kid.
Oh yeah. Yeah, my mother used to tell a story of how I was in first grade for about 3 weeks. And then one day I came home crying and said I wasn't going to go back. And she says, "Why not?" And I said, "Because I've been in school for 3 weeks and I still can't read and I still can't write." So I was couldn't wait to read.
Okay. Okay. And so
Yeah.
when did you start becoming an author? If you've been reading your whole life, when did the writing start?
Well, as a very young child, I used to write what I called books, and I would staple pieces of paper together and then write stories on them. And so they were my books, but yeah, they were very simple. And then I would dabble in writing like short stories, and I tried to write novels, but they never really got anywhere. And it wasn't until 2001 that I decided to get serious about that.
Okay. And so now you've been writing seriously for the
Mhm.
past 22 years?
Well, that's when I started, but I haven't been very consistent. Um, I do a lot of other things in between.
Yeah.
So yeah, when you put it that way, I think that I'm going to have like 20 books, but I don't have 20 books. I have three novels. I published three short stories. So I wish that I had been more consistent over the years, but
I gotcha. I gotcha.
no. Mm.
Okay, well, tell us about being a registered nurse. When did you make the choice to go into nursing? Because you had a career before that, right? Like you were working for a newspaper.
I Yes, I did. I did. So my goal in life was to be a writer, and I thought about being a journalist. And when I was in high school, I took journalism. And when I went in to meet with my guidance counselor my senior year to come up with my like plan for the rest of my life, it was 1978, and he said to me, "Well, you can be a teacher, you can be a nurse, you can be a secretary." And I said, "I don't want to be any of those things. I want to be a writer." And he laughed and he said, "You'll be a good nurse." So I didn't want to do any of those things. So I went off to college and was very busy. And it was an English major because we didn't have a journalism program. And we did have a student newspaper. And I joined that and eventually became the editor in chief. And it led to working opportunities at some big newspapers where I lived. But I never really got like that full time sustainable job. So I had to make a decision when I was around, I don't know, 23 or so, that I needed to come up with a better plan. And I ended up working in the nonprofit sector. I did communications work, public relations, that kind of stuff. But then I ended up going into nursing in 1990. So that is a very, as everybody will always tell you, a great way to always have a job,
Yeah.
a good job. So I did that. And after a few years, one of the managers at the hospital I worked in started this newsletter for nurses. So I saw it and I said to her, I can help you with this because I have a background in production and newspaper writing and reporting. And so she's like, please help. So I did. Ended up taking over the whole thing. And we put out like 4 issues over like 2 or 3 years. Um, 4 issues a year. So I had about 12 of those behind me, but that like reignited the spark in me that I wanted to write. And so then I started to write stories
Yeah.
again. And that was around 2000 or something like that. So yeah, I got started on it, bit by bit, got back into that. Wanted to be a published author all my life. That was my real dream. And I tried to get my first book, Blue Hydrangeas, published traditionally, and it wasn't working out for me for, I guess, mainly because there's just a volume of books out there, people trying to get published. So I had approached many, many agents and editors and got about a big stack of rejection letters, but nobody ever read my book.
Mm.
Nobody ever requested a chapter or its entirety or anything like that. So I was kind of at a loss because I still didn't know if it had any merit. And a friend of mine said, "Why don't you just publish it yourself on Kindle?" That's what I did. So I thought, what have I got to lose? I'll do that. So I did. It took me about a year, and I published the book 2013. And I started getting feedback from people that they really liked it. And it won some awards, and the sales were pretty good. And that inspired me to continue on. And I have written other things, other novels since then. So that's basically how I got started with the writing thing.
There we go. So walk us through some of the
Hmm.
novels that you've written. What are they about? What was your writing
All
process like?
right. So the first book was called Blue Hydrangeas, an Alzheimer's love story. And it's about a couple, retired Cape Cod innkeepers, who are dealing with the wife's Alzheimer's disease and all the changes that it brings to their life together. At the beginning, when the diagnosis first hits them, the husband makes an impossible promise to his wife and says, we're going to stay here together, no matter what happens. Whenever you're staying in your home, I'm going to be here. Don't worry about those things, because that was her concern, is that she would be left. Usually I think, left is people are afraid that they're going to be placed in some kind of a facility and forgotten. So he does cares for her for 9 years, but as the disease progresses, his own failing heart disease progresses, and it becomes impossible for him to keep his promise. So that's when the story begins. And I'm not going to give any spoilers, but they end up going on this impetuous journey to reclaim their past and redefine their future together. So that takes place on Cape Cod, place I used to live. And then my second full-length novel is called Swim Season, and that one's a young adult novel based on my daughter's 11 years as a competitive swimmer in club, high school, and college swimming. So I spent years sitting on the bleachers cheering her on, cheering for her team, and came up with this whole storyline about a girls' swim team with a star performer heading to the Olympics, actually two of them. And it's all about competition. And there's a $50,000 scholarship to go to the swimmer who breaks a record in the 500 freestyle. And so that becomes the race of contention between these two girls. And there's a lot of drama. It follows the timeline of the entire swim season from August to December, and everything else that happens in high school during that time. So you've got like kids going to college football, high school football games, and they're going to homecoming and doing different things like that. So it's really fun. And that's the story that I guess means the most to me personally. But my Blue Hydrangeas has done the most for me, and actually led me to create a global nonprofit to help people caring for loved ones with Alzheimer's disease called All's Authors.
I gotcha. Yeah, I was curious.
Mm.
I read that on your bio, and I was curious if you started that or not.
Yeah, I started it with two other women whom I did not know. I met online. I met my partner, Jean Lee, when she reached out to me about my book, because she had been caring for two parents with dementia at the same time. And she's a teacher, retired, and she always went to books whenever she had questions and problems to find answers. She would always resort to looking in books. So that's how she discovered my book. She tried to read everything she could about um, the Alzheimer's and dementia caregiving, but told from a personal perspective of a person who had lived it and what she could learn from them. And she had reached out to me about my book, and she had written her own and asked me to read it. So I did, and it was wonderful. And then later on, I was trying to think of ways to do some marketing and promotion and maybe partner up with other people who had written like books. And I thought of her, and there were two others. And then Jean introduced me to Vicky Tapia, who had written a book called Somebody Stole My Iron. And that was also about caring for two parents with dementia at the same time. So she thought that was an excellent book, and perhaps she would want to partner with us for what was to be a 1 month promotion of authors all on the same topic, trying to get the books out in June, which was Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month, 2015. So for 1 month, we were going to help cross promote each other via our blogs, newsletters, social media, all of that. And we did. And we discovered that we really liked each other. So when November rolled around, November is Caregiver Appreciation Month, we decided we would do it again. And then that was fun too. And then when it comes around May again, I start thinking, well, maybe we should do that June thing again, but this time let's do it differently. Let's start our own blog. And instead of just talking about ourselves, we will introduce other authors of books about Alzheimer's and dementia and have them write blog posts, talking about their journeys, talking about their books. And we'll do that for a month, Monday to Friday, 20 books. At the end of the month, we still had books. So we said, well, why don't we just do it, keep doing it, but we'll do it once a week, and then we'll see what happens. There was no end game. And so that was 8 years ago. And here we are. We have 350 authors. We have the podcast. We have virtual events. We have the bookstore. We have custom caregiver collections. And we have like 9 members on our management team, all volunteers. And we're going strong. We got people banging on the door trying to get in.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah,
really
it's
amazing.
amazing. Yeah, we had to shut down the submission portal because we're booked through December already. So we're in July, and we just took a break for the summer because we just have the volume of books just keeps coming and coming. We used to have to look for the books. Now we don't look.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
is, yeah, that's awesome. And I love
Mm,
how it started with just, trying it small and then it developed into a more
hmm
consistent thing and a lovely partnership with people who you like.
Yeah, lots of beautiful people, and yeah, it's amazing how much work people will do for something they believe in when they don't get paid.
Yeah. Yeah. And so when you're promoting these books and you're writing a blog about them, is it just a summary of the book? Is it about the author
Mm.
and the book, the reasoning behind the book? Like, what all do you go through in your blog about the book?
Yeah, so both for the blog and the podcast, it's not a book review
Mhm.
and it's not a book dissection. So it's mainly the author's approach is to speak from their heart as a former caregiver of a loved one to somebody else that's also currently doing the same thing. So the thing about caregivers, and we learned this early on, and should have known it because we lived it, is that you have very little time for yourself. So if you are somebody who's looking to find answers and you've got millions of questions, you we think that maybe you would go to a book or go to the internet or try to find some resource that way. And we weren't finding that happening. And I think it's just because people just don't have time. They don't have time to get online and type in, Alzheimer's care or whatever, caring for a parent with Alzheimer's, and then trying to sift through all of the hits because you're going to have millions of them,
Yeah.
even on Amazon.
Hmm.
If you write books about Alzheimer's, you're going to get a million books. So then you have to figure out, well, which one of these books is going to be relevant to me. So we decided, that's why we decided to do the podcast, because we thought people at least can listen, because you can listen, you can do something else. And when you're reading, you have to stop everything and sit and read, and you can't do other things. So that was the impetus behind the podcast. And then we also have our bookstore, which is organized very carefully to help people like zoom in and know exactly what they're looking for, rather than trying to sift through 350 books. trying to find the one, because they just don't have time. So that's pretty much the gist of how it all works. It's caregiver to caregiver. So we have two audiences. We have the authors, and we serve them, but we also, the greater goal is to serve the caregivers.
Yeah,
Mm,
I love it. Well, tell us a bit more about
thanks.
your motivation. What really gets you up and keeps you going every day?
Well, I have a very busy schedule because of I still work. I only work 2 days a week. I have a 5-day weekend. I'm a nurse. I work at community college in my town. So I'm busy over there, which is completely different environment from hospital nursing or helping people with dementia, because my clients are usually very young and they have different concerns. So that's fun. We do a lot of programming, educational events, things like that, health promotion, disease prevention. So that's a lot of fun. And my goal right now is to just continue to grow the Alls Authors platform.
Hmm.
It's been very, very slow growing. It's very organic. We don't buy followers or do anything like that. So trying to figure out what's the trick. I mean, what's going to be the key thing that's going to push it, over the edge to where it needs to be, so that we can impact as many caregivers as we possibly can. So that gets me up in the morning. And my own writing, I have, I'm working on some other writing projects right now. So I've been kind of stagnant on that, but I really need to finish them up. And I do a lot of podcasting interviews, either for where I'm the guest, but obviously where I'm the host. So those are the things that get me up in the morning, just like working the mission.
Yeah, I love
Mm.
it. So when you say next section is dreams and goals, so let's just go ahead and jump
Hmm.
into it. When you say grow the Alls Authors platform, what size do you see it growing to?
Well, let's see. There are 6.8 million people living with a dementia diagnosis in the United States alone. So that's like 44.5 million around the world. And I would like to think that every single one of those people has at least one person in their life that cares. So I have a potential audience of like 66.8 million in the US, let's say. So I would like to reach at least like 1% of those people,
Yeah, I got you.
which is what, yeah. So it's
About
not really a lot.
60,000.
Yeah, it's not really a lot, but we struggling to get to that point, where we can become like a resource for people, of physicians to say, why don't you check out this organization? They've got a lot of people there that can help you, or like the Alzheimer's Association and other agencies. There are, hospitals and places all across the country that specialize in Alzheimer's care. So we would like to be like the Alzheimer's Association, be a resource that is frequently recommended by professionals in the field and even amongst caregivers, to be invited to speak to support groups and book clubs and things like that. And we the thing is we're a very small but mighty organization. And the flip side of like having like to go viral, say, like having just that one interview that was the tipping point. We're so small that I don't even know if we can handle it.
Yeah,
So that would be interesting to see, or if our website could withstand the traffic. So um, there are some benefits to remaining small. No,
yeah,
there would be more demands on our time and things like that.
yeah. It's kind of interesting to think about, growing to that size because you'd start to need the money and the
Mm-hmm.
infrastructure to really support that size,
Mm-hmm.
which is hard to do um, in the
Oh yeah.
nonprofit world without necessarily raising money. Now, of course, you could figure out a way to kind of support the business in like a break even structure where you just have some stuff and you get people to donate. I think it's possible. It's just a little bit harder than,
Yeah.
a typical for-profit business or getting some donations from some, big spenders in the space who care about it.
Yeah. Well, we have some very generous benefactors, and we have donors consistent, but we just started to use our products to raise money. So for instance, when we started, we didn't charge any money, but now the authors need to pay a $25 submission fee for us to review their book. And that was because we were just getting flooded with books. So we thought if people weren't serious, then they would not want to pay the fee. But, that's been consistent there. And then we have branched out into offering the authors other opportunities. Like we just did a booklet highlighting as many books. You had to sign into it because we had so many, we couldn't do it, but it was called Caring for a Mother with Dementia, and it spotlights all the books on that topic. So the authors who had books about caring for their mother were invited to participate, and they had to pay, I think it was like a $25 fee to get their book into that document. So we raised money doing things like that. And then we're going to have a program where the authors can video themselves reading an excerpt from their book with, some peripheral information around it, and upload to the YouTube channel. So that would be another fee associated with that if you wanted to do that, because we can't do it for everybody. So there has to be some kind of entry point. I can't offer that to all 350 authors, and then a lot of them won't do it. So, that's one thing, but at least if they have to, the ones who pay their fee, they'll get their video up on the website, as opposed to us trying to do everybody, because we can't do everybody. We don't have enough manpower.
Yeah. Yeah. I got you.
Yeah. So that's a dilemma. We've applied for grants. We're hoping we get a grant this year. And, no, the thing is that the management team members are all caregivers first and authors, but, we're not professional authors. We don't write tons of books like every year. And we all had different careers. Most of us are retired. So we don't, and there's not really anybody that has any skills in this area. So we struggle with things like that and try to find people who can help us, like with, questions about managing a nonprofit. We actually can find a lot of good brains amongst our authorship, because there's so many people coming from different professions, lawyers and accountants and bookkeepers and marketing people. So we kind of tap into them when we need assistance, and they, usually they're very happy to help. But, that's the biggest challenge is, we would like to have a budget to hire a publicist or to hire, a CPA or something like that, but we didn't get there yet.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of rough. I wonder if there's a way you can add some sort of service or product that you can get the insurance companies to pay for your for the 1% of people that you'd be helping in the caregiving world, because that would be very beneficial to helping the cash flow of the business without putting strain on the people that are you know giving care to the people they love, because it is difficult to charge in an arena like this, because you're going there to help, but money's probably also tight for a lot of people in these
Mm-hmm.
situations. And so charging them to maintain your business isn't always the most beneficial like thing for both
Oh, no.
parties.
Oh, I get that. We don't charge the caregivers. There's no fee for anything. All the events are free, blog, website, everything is free, podcast. It's the authors, because when you're an author, you have to pay to get your book promoted on the book sites,
Yeah. Yeah.
so it's already baked in. And so, if there's and this is a niche market. We're going direct to the audience that you're writing for. So it's not like you're paying money to be on a book website and they've got multiple genres. So the possibility of you attracting the interest of your ideal reader is probably pretty slim, because they're probably not looking for books, and they're not looking for um, the book websites like, I don't know, Kindle, Book Review. I use them a lot to advertise my books. I
Yeah.
have to pay them. You know, if I want to be in a book newsletter, I have to pay. If I want to be in Fussy Librarian or I don't know, the different ones that I use, pay $25. You have to pay $50 or more. You can pay over $100. So that's part of the cost of doing business as an author. So the authors incur the expense, but the readers do not, the caregivers. There's no expense to any of them.
Yeah. No, for sure. For sure. It
Yeah.
makes sense. It makes sense. I'm just thinking, I
Mm-hmm.
don't I don't know if you really wanted to get the business model there as a nonprofit
Mm-hmm.
to the point where you could hire a publicist, hire a marketer. I don't know if only charging the authors will get you there.
No,
But
no,
then,
it doesn't.
yeah. But
So
then it's
that's why
like
we
I
look for
can't think of,
grants or,
yeah, brands. Okay, I see.
yeah, or a benefactor. Like, for instance, assisted living chain would be great, like Brookdale or Artists or something like that, or even financial planners, people who are helping people with estate plans and things like that. And they usually have a large clientele, people that have dementia, elder law attorneys.
Mhm.
There's a number of places, and memory care facilities. There's a lot of places to go to for sponsorship. So having somebody to say sponsor the podcast, different episodes,
Yeah,
that would be great. Um, but that's like, somebody's job to do that.
yeah,
Everybody has more than one job on our team. So
yeah. I got you.
and
Okay.
nobody wants to, nobody really has the skills. Like I always say, marketing is a career choice. You go to college and you go there for 4 years, you get a degree. So just because you wrote a book doesn't mean that now you're a marketer. It's a lot to learn,
There, yeah, yeah. And
right?
honestly, I don't even think 4 years at college does it justice because,
No, there's like the
yeah,
basics.
yeah,
So yeah, I try to get interns. I mean, I work at a college, so there's kids there. So I usually try to get an intern every semester to work with me to do stuff. So I had one last semester, and she was new media. New media was her major, so she helped us. She created that, helped us create that Mother's Day booklet. And now next semester, I'm looking for somebody to run our store because we have an online shop. And so whoever else pops up, if I can, get a business student, marketing major, new media, public health, we have a public health program. So somebody like that to help, run some of the education portions. It's a win-win for them because they get to learn about the organization and the, working in a nonprofit, but we also can use whatever expertise they have.
yeah, yeah. I got you.
Hmm.
I like the brands like the assisted living.
Mm.
Um, what do they call it? Assisted living chains specifically.
Right.
Elder care lawyers. I could see that as well. Um, yeah, if there was like a national like chain or national lawyers, just because they could benefit from the
Hmm.
audience per se.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, I think that, there are because there's
definitely.
associations. So there's like the association of, nursing home administrators and elder law attorneys and stuff. So to get like a well-placed advertisement in their journal or on their website might help to gather the interest and to start reaching out into that. But I don't know. Sometimes I think we're just afraid to do that because we don't really want to blow up.
There we go. Yeah, that's a that's a whole nother issue, right?
Yeah, we just, well, not really. We didn't really lose our website manager, but she took a full-time job. So now she's not as available as she was. So if like we started getting a lot of traffic and the system didn't handle it, we would, wonder like, how are we going to, fix this immediately, on the spot.
Yeah,
So that's like a good problem to have.
yeah. No, it is. It is. Well, cool. So we got Grow the Alls Authors platform to reach 1% of the caregivers in the US and funded
Mm.
through, brand partnerships or benefactor partnerships. Finish out your own writing projects and continue the podcast interviewing. Are there any other dreams or goals that you want to add to this?
Well, when you sent me all of these suggested questions and things, I started thinking about it. And I'm like, you know, at this point in my life, I'm 62. I've already achieved many of my dreams.
Hmm.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And in the future, well, you know, eventually to be fully retired and travel. My daughter lives in England. I have one child, and she moved to England when with her husband last year. He's in the Air Force. So we've been going over there quite a bit and traveling, and we managed to see some Europe this year. And I'm really looking forward to doing more of that. There's like a lot of places I always, you know, you think, I think most people like throughout their lives, they have this idea that they want to go to these places wherever it is, and you never get there, or you just keep pushing it off. Well, someday, someday, someday. So well, now it's my someday, and we're going. So
Yeah.
I just want to continue. I want to see we've been to Italy once. I want to go back to Italy. I'm Italian, so my husband's Italian, but I'm also Polish. My dad was Polish. I'd love to go to Poland. I'm not sure now is the best time to head over that way, but I want to go to Ireland and Scotland and just a lot of European stuff, and see more of the US. You know,
Yep.
they'll be back to the US at some point. So we'll be traveling then. I won't be working, so we'll be able to do some cross-country traveling, which I'm looking forward to. So, and just to keep writing and to at least finish my writing projects. So a lot of stuff gets on hold because of elder care and I have chronic pain issues, so that gets in the way. And then we had the whole COVID thing, and I think everybody got knocked off their rails for that. So the writing, you know, it's hard. I just spend so much time you doing all as authors. It seems like to be the most productive use of my time than to try to write another book. So what else do I want to accomplish? I don't know. I think that's mainly it. Stay healthy.
Yeah. Yeah. I got you.
Mm.
And what are the top 1 to 2 skills that you need to develop right now to make your dream life come true?
Um, I need to learn how to drive an RV.
There we go.
Yeah, so I'm not sure about that. I have a hard time. I got one of the, I got a small car.
Yeah.
It's not a smart car. It's bigger than that. But it's the first time in 25 years I don't own a Jeep because I've always had a Jeep and when they're big. And this is a little car. I call it the little car, and I still like I'm not really good at like parallel parking and doing stuff like that. So
Yeah.
my husband's like, when are you gonna be able to drive this RV? Um, So I don't know about that, if that'll even happen, but that would be helpful because then we could just pack up, move up, sell the house and
Hmm.
get it, you know, go mobile for a while. That's the way I look at it. It's not forever, it's for a few years and then, you know, see things and go places. And I would like to do that. So that would be helpful.
Could you do that right now, or because being a registered nurse, you still have to kind of be local for 2 days a week, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. Well, that will come to an end
Hmm.
eventually. Yeah. Um, I mean, we have like my 5 days we can do things like we can leave on Friday, come back on Tuesday and get to some places
Yeah.
where we live. I mean, we don't own a vehicle, an RV at this point. So we just travel by car.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'll just keep working, you know, as long as it suits me.
And so do you work Tuesday, Thursday,
Oh, no, I work Wednesday, Thursday.
Wednesday, Thursday? I see.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Well,
Keeps me busy.
uh-huh. Uh-huh. Well, cool, cool. What are the highest impact daily actions that are going to tick the needle forward towards your dreams and goals? Is it driving somebody else's RV to learn, or something else?
Yeah, I don't know anybody that has one. So it won't work. I guess we just have to bite the bullet. You can rent them.
Hmm.
So, you know, you could rent one and take it on go on a trip as a trial. And then, you know, like I would like to get one that you attach a vehicle to it and tow it. And then
Yeah.
my husband wants to get a class A motor vehicle, which is the one where the cab the cab is in the cabin, I guess. It's one piece. But then you don't have a vehicle to drive around when you're at your destination. You have to only can use that. So that's kind of hinders you because once you get it all set up and everything for a stay, you don't want to have to dismantle the whole thing just to go to dinner,
Yeah.
so there's
Yeah.
that. So I don't know. It's like probably just a dream, but it's a good dream. I
No.
mean, it's just a way to get around. You can say, well, I'll fly all over the place and I'll stay in hotels and rent cars to get back and forth. But it's kind of not the same. You don't get to see um, the little towns like that you fly over,
Yeah. Yeah.
and we kind of wanted to explore a lot of the United States that way, kind of zigzag back and forth a few times, and then,
Hmm.
park it or sell it and then be done.
I know tons of, not tons, but I know a decent number of people who are doing this right now because they've been on my podcast.
Yeah.
And yeah, you should. They've been on recently too. So if you go through some of the episodes, you should talk about something like mobile lifestyle if you have any questions or tips or that you want,
Yeah.
or just to talk to them because they're also pretty open to just being chatted to, so or
Yeah. That sounds great.
contacted.
Hmm.
Yeah, and they make it sound like it's A, pretty cheap, and B, like pretty like just they're very logistical people. It's not like stuff is up in the air. So
Yeah.
doesn't
Yeah.
have to stay a dream if you don't want it to. But also I
No.
would never want to actually travel in an RV, but that's just me.
Well, my brother had one and we really liked it. So,
Yeah,
and we stayed in it, and it's probably not great when the weather's bad because it's so confining,
yeah,
but you do have everything that you need,
uh-huh,
you know.
for sure.
And a lot of it is like the outdoor part. So you would be in a climate, follow the climate so that you're always in good weather. So you can, in the winter or whatever, not have to deal with snow and wind and low temps and freezing and all that. So you can
Yeah,
use the outside space as an
uh-huh,
extension of the interior. So if you want to just hang out outside, you can do that and do whatever you would do inside outside. So there is that, but we'll see what happens.
yep, yep,
Right now we're busy going to Europe, so it doesn't we don't need an RV.
yeah. Exactly, exactly. Well, what character trait do you most need to develop right now to make your dream life come true, reach those caregivers, finish those projects?
Consistency easily a nice day will easily distract me with something else to do outside, or go somewhere, go to the pool. I'm still new to my husband being home. He just retired in the end of April. So and it's summertime too, so
Uh-huh.
so everything is different in the summertime.
Yeah,
And just getting back to like that writing schedule and being more consistent, with planning and all of that. But I mean, I'm pretty good about that when we're not in the middle of the summer. So
yeah.
my summer ends like around late September when I have to start wearing a jacket. Then it's
I got
summer's over.
Where
Yeah.
where are you on the East Coast?
New York.
New York. Okay. Okay.
Mm.
Nice. I I know you say consistency and that a nice day will distract you, but I feel like that's a good problem to have. Like often
Mm-hmm.
I'll be in the middle of life and I'll be, doing my podcast, going to work and coming home to do more podcasts. And then I have some real estate stuff I'm trying to do. And during the week, my weekdays can get taken up like 12,
Mm-hmm.
13 hours of it like that. And I'll look outside and I'm in Austin, Texas, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, it is such a beautiful day. And I have been inside all day. And I'm like, I really
Mm-hmm.
just want to go out to the park and play some spike ball or go play some basketball or go on a walk or go play something
Yep.
with friends. Cause I'm like, these days are just so nice. And I'm sitting here just working away. And so I feel like letting
Mm-hmm.
a good day distract you. Like, it's so funny because my goal in life is to be able to wake up one day and be like, what do I want to do today? And then just go do it. Now, is that practical to live every day like that? No, because there's some
Mm-mm.
things you want to plan, and there's some things you can't even do without planning. But it is nice to have the freedom to just drop what you're doing and go do something else, which is funny because we always have that freedom. The consequences just may be something you don't
Hmm.
want to deal with.
That's right.
Yeah. Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, so I know consistency is a big thing, but I think having that freedom to like drop what you're doing and enjoy the outside is also a good thing.
Yeah. To work outside,
Yep.
I would bring my laptop outside and sit by the pool or something and do things that way. But one of the things I like is that, my little job now, I'm approaching my retirement, so it's
Yeah.
not like I'm not building my wealth
Mhm.
like I did 20 or 30 years ago. So I just worked it 2 days a week, and it's one of those things where it doesn't feel confining or anything because I know I can stop it at any time. So it's even like when we work in my office, we work all day and we get engrossed in what we're doing, and then all of a sudden we realize that we should have closed the office like a half an hour ago, but we're still going.
Yep.
And I don't mind being there because I know that I can just pick up and leave at any time.
Yeah.
So it's enjoyable that way. I don't feel like, oh my God, I have to sit here. And sometimes I do. Like, how many more hours do I have
Yep.
before I can get out of here?
Yeah.
Mm.
I gotcha. Well, if there were one or two people you can meet right now, and this could be a specific person or a type of person,
Mm.
and they'd really help you take that next step towards your dreams and goals, who would they be and how would they help you?
Um, well, it would be great to meet Maria Shriver and tell her about my goal because she's head of the Women's Alzheimer's movement.
Mm.
So yeah, Maria Shriver, she's actually got a book in our collection. So one of the first that we did was Maria.
Wait, so haven't you
And
already met her?
I haven't met her, no. She just somebody else brought the book in, one of my partners.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So and it was and so it was when we just spotlighted a book, and I don't know that she was personally involved in that. Um Somebody else, another author would be like Lisa Genova, because people wonder why isn't still Alice in the collection, and it's because the authors in our collection are all they're ordinary people. They're not celebrities or stars
Mhm.
because they're people looking for promotion. That they're people that need it. So somebody like Lisa Genova and Maria Shriver, they don't need us to boost their book because they haven't already have a global platform. So when we approach authors of that caliber, we usually get, like declination, or we reach the publicist or their assistant, and we don't get any further than that. So people that are very influential in the Alzheimer's sphere, especially when it comes to authors and caregivers, they would be very helpful people to meet.
Mm. Yeah, for sure. So now we're gonna jump into our thriving three. First question: what's your favorite book, movie, or podcast? Pick one of the three.
I wrote this down. Podcasts. So I religiously listen to two different podcasts, and both of them are hosted by four women. So one of them is called the Friends in Fiction podcast,
Hmm.
which is hosted by four Southern women authors: Patty Callahan Henry, who is in All's Authors and who I got to interview for my podcast. So lovely. For her book, The Favorite Daughter, which is about Alzheimer's, and then Mary Kay Andrews, Christy Woodson Harvey, and Kristen Harmel. So every week they get on and they kind of do what we do. They spotlight different authors. So they may have one or two or even more authors on their show every week talking about their book journey and their writing life and all of that. And they're fun and they're funny. So that's really enjoyable to listen to. It's a podcast, but it's also live on YouTube on Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And then I also like to listen to one called hashtag Sisters in Law, which is four women who are all lawyers. And they have two of them were like former United States, what do they call it? The state's attorney or the
Yep.
federal attorney. Um, I forget the name of that. And one of them is
The Attorney General,
Jill
or
Wine-Banks. No, it's this attorney for the federal government, and every state has a few of those representing the federal government in the states. So Joyce Vance White, she's from Alabama, and Barbara McQuaid is from Michigan. And then there's Jill Wine Banks, who made her name back during the impeachment of Richard Nixon. So she's been around a while.
Yeah.
And then Kimberly Atkins Storr, who's a lawyer, has a law degree, but is a journalist. So they are on every Sunday. You can catch their podcast, and they talk about, talk about the law. They talk about, how it's applied, like in current affairs, which is just really interesting. And it's all about politics and government. And they talk about Supreme Court and court decisions and how it works. Because I don't think people, all this stuff is going on all the time. People aren't paying attention, or they don't understand it, and it has a major impact on your life.
Yeah.
And usually by that point, it's too late to do anything about it. It's already the law in the system. And then all of a sudden people realize something's changed, or things aren't going the way that they want. Well, that's why. So those are my two favorite podcasts to listen to.
Cool. Those are some cool podcasts.
They are. And they're all women.
Solid. Well, what's one way you like to take care of yourself?
Oh, I like to get enough sleep. So sleep is always an issue, especially for the older you get, the less sleep. Not that you require less sleep, but it's harder to get good quality sleep for some reason. So I make it a point to try to get a good solid 5 or 6 hours a night.
Oh, 5 or 6.
Solid sleeping, because I wake up a lot. So I go to bed early, like 9:30, 10 o'clock, and I usually get up around 7 or 8, but I wake up a lot in the night too, and then I have to go back to sleep. So if I get like 5 or 6 hours, like last night I woke up and it was like 12:30, and then I woke up the next time it was like 5:48. So that was good.
Yeah.
I didn't wake up all those hours, so
I
like
see.
that.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just, yeah. So it helps, and it helps, on multiple levels, but it helps, like, clear your brain. So they say that getting good sleep is important in preventing Alzheimer's and dementia.
Yeah. I need to work on getting good sleep as well, because I wake
Yeah.
up in the middle of the night
Mm-hmm.
and I'm only 24. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's another thing where consistency comes in, and having like a routine, and that you stick to it. And it's hard too, because doing other things, watching television, going out, especially in the summertime, and it's lighter out
Yep.
longer, so you out more, and you might socialize more, or traveling, being on vacation. So it's always a challenge trying to get that good sleep. But
Yeah, no, for
I do
sure.
better, when I am not too tired. Obviously, I'm better at getting things done.
Yeah. Yep. I got you.
Mhm.
It's there's been a lot of sleep research that's come out, and I could
Mhm.
do a lot to get better sleep. Like I could set the temperature at 68. I could go to sleep at the same time every night. Could
Right.
wake up without an alarm. Could get out in the morning to reset the circadian rhythm, and then not look at screens an hour before you sleep.
Yep. Yep. Cut the
Decrease stress
caffeine.
levels. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the
So
caffeine will do it.
there are a lot of things that I could do that I don't do. So I guess I'm not trying to get better sleep that much, but I always feel it in the morning where it's like, dang, I wish I would have slept.
Yeah. Well, it will help you, like, in the long run. So,
Yeah,
like, prevention is it's better to these awful things when you're young than to try to make up for the difference.
yep,
It becomes more of a reality.
yeah,
But younger people don't think about that. So when I brought the Alzheimer's Association to my campus to do routine events and things, some people would say, why are they here? Because college students, they don't worry about things like that. And I was like, they do, because a lot of them have parents and grandparents that have that disease, and they're taking care of them.
yep,
And it's also good to know, so that you can arrange your lifestyle in a way. So, like, the Alzheimer's prevention thing is like getting enough sleep, obviously, but what you eat, getting exercise and stuff like that, which wards off a lot of other chronic conditions as well. So to
yep,
incorporate into your lifestyle when you're younger is just so much better than trying to break all those bad habits, when you're 50.
yep,
Yeah. And maybe have done damage.
yeah. Well, what is one action step you can take right now or continue to take if you're already doing it to meet some people influential in the Alzheimer's field, whether that be authors or caregivers?
Well, we just keep reaching out via our social media connections. And, I have a call today. I'm very friendly with a representative from the Alzheimer's Association in my community. Like I said, I bring them to the college, and she just introduced me to somebody who is in the office in Westchester County, which is really much bigger than where I am, and also close to the city. So I have a talk with him coming up this afternoon to talk about All's authors. And it's just these little steps like that is trying, one thing leads to another, and
Yeah,
get an introduction, be open to that. Um, we never know, like, opportunities just come like every week. There's somebody wanting to present us with something, and we have to make a decision on that as to whether it fits our mission and we have the time and the energy to do it.
yeah,
So yeah, we keep open minded and reach out to people, especially on social media. It's a good avenue to reach out to people that are influential.
for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
All right. Last section of the podcast. We're going to blow through this all about beliefs. What is one
Mm,
limiting belief that continues to pop up in your life, if any?
when I first started, I just wrote my book and put it out there. I kind of had a feeling like, why would anybody want to read this book? Because I'm nobody.
Hmm.
I don't have a name. Well, everybody's nobody, I guess, at the beginning, right? For the most part, you write a book, most authors are unknown. And so I had a hard time with that, trying to like put myself out there because I just felt that I was already defeated. And I guess that came from childhood, growing up in a working class family, losing my dad at a young age, being disadvantaged from by that, and growing up in the 1970s where they didn't expect much from women. You just, like I said, you're a nurse, you're a teacher, you're a secretary, and you're a mother. Those are your options that was presented to me. So trying to break out of that is challenging.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Hmm.
Do you have any, hmm, do you have any actions or inactions that are limiting? So limiting actions or inactions that reinforce this belief to this day.
Well, reaching out to people because I feel like they're not going to recognize who I am or what I have to offer. Now, with social media, if you reach out to somebody and you capture their attention, they will click on you to see who you are, and then in your little bio and things you can write. I can write that I wrote books and that I help found All's authors and run that All's authors organization, so they can learn a little bit about me right away and maybe respond. But like a lot of times, people, they don't know who you are. um I don't really always like to go around talking about every what I do and too, so because sometimes it can be perceived as being like a braggart or proud or something like that. But if it fits the situation, then I will mention it. And people are usually really surprised. Like if I say, well, I've written like 3 books, and people are like so surprised by that,
Yeah,
but and I want some people want to talk about it, other people are just like, they don't want to talk about that at all.
yeah.
So it's just hard putting yourself out there.
Oh, I gotcha. I gotcha for sure.
Mm.
Well, if you were to change that limiting belief into an abundant phrase that really spoke to you in the way that you need to hear it, what would that phrase be?
I am someone with something valuable to offer.
Yeah,
Mm.
love it. And when the limiting beliefs start to take over, what thoughts or actions do you resort to in order to take back control, reorient towards what you want?
To reflect on prior achievement. So one of the things when I was trying to get my book published, that kept me going, really, is the fact that I had written a short story, which is really beautiful, and submitted it to a contest, and I won the
Mhm.
contest, and I won the money. It was money. It was one of the prizes. So like that reinforced to me that the writing was good enough, and that people if and I worked as a newspaper reporter for years, so people paid me to write, so I knew that I could write well enough to get money, which is huge. So then I would always reflect upon that when I would get discouraged and say, but you did win that contest.
Yeah.
Somebody believed in you. Somebody saw something here, and they gave you money. It was like $200, which is a lot of money for a piece of writing.
Yeah.
And that would be it. And so like reflecting on the prior accomplishment, and like as far as like all authors go, is just knowing that the work that we do does impact people, because we hear it all the time. People,
Yeah.
the authors. I did a podcast interview last night with some women, and they just couldn't get over the whole thing. They thought it was just like the whole concept of it was incredible. So, you know, it's validation. You feel
Yep.
validated, say, okay, so we did this and this went well. So we're going to keep plugging, we're going to keep going. I'm going to introduce a new product. We'll see how this one works. That's what keeps me going.
I love it.
Mm.
There we go. And what is your favorite belief about yourself? This one wasn't on the sheet, actually.
My favorite belief about myself. I'm someone who makes things happen. I always say there's three kinds of people in the world: those who sit around and wait for things to happen, those who sit around and make things happen, and those who sit around and say, what happened? So, yeah, what happened? So I'm like the one who makes things happen.
There we go.
Yeah, I like, all right. And I do that, like even at my job, I do stuff and people will say, well, I'll say, why don't we do this? And so people have all these reasons why we can't do it. I'll say, well, we're going to do it. So let's just get
Uh,
started doing it. And then it comes to fruition.
yep.
And most of the time it's a success, or it had some benefit. And then of course there are times when you do things and they just don't work out for one reason or another. I just organized like this men's health fair. We'd never had a men's health fair before. And the day that of the health fair, it was when we had the worst of that smoke from Canada
Mm,
into our atmosphere. And like the air, it was like amber. I mean, the smell of it, you couldn't be outside. So we didn't get very good attendance at the health fair, but we learned a lot
interesting.
from doing it. It had a lot of other benefits, but and it's like the same thing like with all artists. Like some people think the whole goal is for to make money, but that's not really the goal. So it's like trying to like re-educate people and say, but maybe we didn't make a lot of money, but um we have visibility, we increase our discoverability, and that's where it all starts. Like when I say make money, I mean for the authors to sell books,
Yeah.
not for us to make money, but to help the authors to sell their books, because that is the ultimate goal of the author. Is I want to sell my book. And then they don't want to sell the books mainly to make money, but just to get the book into the hands of the people that need it,
Yeah.
you know and share their story. That's why they did it. And nobody's going to get a killing on these books about Alzheimer's. So that's the goal. Sometimes it's not about how many people showed up at the health fair or how much money the author earned on that book that we promoted last week. It's about learning from your actions, and then benefiting in other ways, like the discoverability, which is the key word in
Yeah.
publishing for any author. Is nobody's going to buy your book if they don't know about it.
Facts. Facts, facts, facts.
Mm,
Well, awesome. Marianne,
mhm.
that is all we got for you. Thanks so much for coming on the
All
show.
right, well, thank you so much. Lovely
Is
to
there
meet you.
is there anything else you want to chat about before we sign off?
No, I just want to let the listeners know, if they have a loved one in their midst who has Alzheimer's or dementia, you can come to allsauthors.com and you can learn a lot about what you need to know. You can listen to the podcast, you can buy a book, you can attend one of our virtual events, and you can find us on social media as well. Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, and still Twitter.
There we go. And all of those links, if you guys were listening to this and you loved what Marianne had to say, will be down in the show notes. Thank you guys so much for watching. We will see you on the next one. And on that note, we're out.